Hi guys, it's Sophie. So I'm going to be doing another one of my Man Booker 2018 book reviews today, and the one I'm going to talk about is The Long Take by Robertson. This one is a really interesting choice for the Man Booker and a really interesting style. It is a novel told in poetry and so in verse, and that's quite unusual. I have actually read a few told in verse recently, but ordinarily it's not something I've seen on the Booker. Obviously I've only been following it fairly recently. And as a style and as what this book is, it's very genre bending. You, I think to begin with, feel as though it's more poetry, and as you get through you kind of feel as though it's less so, though the style itself doesn't really change. But just a little bit about what it's about first. We follow a man called Walker through 1940s America. And Walker served in World War One, and he has come back to the United States and is kind of detached from everyone. He doesn't have links with his family. When they're described within the novel, he just calls them lost, and when someone asks him if they're dead, he says no, just lost. So whether he's not gone back to his old life or can't, we're not really sure. But the life that he chooses to live is one kind of drifting from city to city in the States, starting in 1946. Now he goes from New York to LA, down through to San Francisco, and then back to LA again. And a lot of this book is not only set within LA, but has a very LA feel to it. Some reviews have spoken about it being reminiscent of kind of noir films set in LA in that kind of time period. It does feel very dark, dirty and kind of mysterious, without, I think, being romanticised necessarily. For example, we have one kind of storyline that he follows where he's engaging with the homeless communities, because lots of those people have served in the First World War and have just kind of been forgotten. And we kind of follow him as he drifts through this life and kind of builds something for himself, but it's always fairly unsteady about where he's going and where he's going to end up. I really enjoyed this book. Of the ones I've read so far, this is the one I've enjoyed the most linguistically, at least. So I underlined quite a few quotes in this, and they're quite dark, but I thought I'd just read you a few. So there's one here early on which says, "A block away in the pearl dusk, some whore worked over for $1 bill, dancing now, face down in the Hudson." And there's some that aren't so dark, like this one. "It was dust, and we watched the starlings mass and whirl, and then drain from the sky into a single tree." And again, like, it's just kind of these really striking images. The guy knocked him down and out, and then bent over and hit him again. A savage 1-2 to the face. The way his girl looked at him then, like she'd let him do anything. And there is one quote in here that kind of relates to the main theme of the book, I think, which is, "American cities have no past, no history. Sometimes I think the only American history is on film." And whilst this book is about a lot of things, it's about PTSD is one of the things it's really about, that you don't maybe get from what I've said so far, because Walker's life in these cities is interspersed by sort of flashes of things that his mind brings up in relation, so kind of like 4th of July, and that turns into bombs in France, and he has kind of diary entries that he puts in as well about his own feelings and thoughts around this kind of narrative. So it's kind of about PTSD, it's kind of about American cities and what they hold and what their symbolism is. Obviously it's around the war itself, and the way that's kind of echoed in homeless communities going forward, and the kind of comparison, I suppose, between the way servicemen in America are treated now compared to how they're treated then. But I think for me this book felt more like a mediation on who we are when we're separated from the world, when we feel as though we no longer fit in to our home and something has fundamentally altered the way that we experience the world. Walker isn't a pessimistic character. He retains a lot of joy in the simple things in the world and retains quite a lot of optimism about the future for the majority of this book. But it's just these kind of really brutal little snapshots. It's a very twisted worldview, though it isn't necessarily always negative, but he sees some awful things. I really enjoyed it. I think this was one of the ones I thought I might like but was a bit tentative about, but actually I think this is my favourite from the book list so far. So yeah, that's a little bit around The Long Take. Let me know down below if you've read it and you liked it, and let me know if you're planning to pick it up after watching this review. Bye guys.